I am in Springfield, Illinois at the Illinois State Capitol. This building is absolutely beautiful. Definitely one of the coolest state capitals I've ever seen. And I have not actually, well, I was technically inside. I forced the guards to let me in after they were closed last time I was here. But now I'm actually gonna go walk through and see everything in person. So this is gonna be pretty cool. Let's go check this out. This is the 6th state capitol building of Illinois. The 21st state admitted to the Union in 1818, Springfield became the capital city in 1837, a move which can partially be accredited to State Representative Abraham Lincoln, and the state government moved into a nearby building, now known as the Old State Capitol, which is a very historic building which I have a separate video on. This building began construction in 1868, and was finally completed in 1882. It is a magnificent Italianate and French Revival style building by the Chicago firm Cochrane and Guernsey. It did end up costing $4.5 million to build back then. There are plenty of monuments on the grounds, and directly in front of the Capitol is, no surprise, Illinois' favorite son, Abraham Lincoln. This is a 1918 statue of the Great Emancipator. While he didn't live to see the construction of this building begin, it is yet another fitting tribute to him in his beloved hometown. Directly behind Lincoln's statue is the statue of Stephen Douglas, which was erected at the same time as Lincoln's. Douglas was of course a venerable and popular senator from Illinois during the pre-war era, and was the primary political rival of Abraham Lincoln here in Springfield. This is an old 1886 statue of Pierre Menard, the Quebecois businessman who became Illinois' second lieutenant governor. This is a statue of Senator Everett Dirksen, who was a very important Republican senator during the 60s. He did help write and pass the Civil Rights Acts of 1964 and 68. He was also a huge supporter of the Vietnam War. I really like this statue because it does look a bit cartoonish, and at the base there's an elephant and a donkey. Government officials of opposing parties could sometimes manage to cooperate back then. That is the Illinois Liberty Bell. Back in 1950, France cast replicas of the Liberty Bell for bonds, and each US state got one, and this is Illinois'. This is a statue of General John M. Palmer, who was the military governor of Kentucky during the Civil War, and later became governor of Illinois and US Senator. A statue of Governor Richard Yates, the Civil War governor of Illinois. He was very popular among Civil War veterans due to his efforts to aid wounded soldiers during and after the war. That is the Illinois Police Officers Memorial. That is the Spanish-American War Memorial. The Illinois Firefighters Memorial is unique because of its big stone cairn with a bronze firefighter scaling a ladder. I really like this one. Nearby there is a small 9/11 memorial, a granite slab with some etchings that are hard to see because of the rain. On this side memorializing the heroic passengers of Flight 93, I noticed a little typo. Pittsburgh should have an H at the end, but I'll let that slide, it's a nice tribute. This is the Illinois Workers Memorial, dedicated to the memory of thousands of Illinois workers killed and injured on the job. This is a statue of a coal miner, honoring the coal miners of Illinois, which was a big industry in the state. Old Route 66 does pass right in front of the new Capitol building. The Mother Road has been rerouted a few times through the city, so this was Route 66 from 1926 to 1930. That 1908 building houses the Illinois Supreme Court. This is a bronze statue of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Though King was not from Illinois, he still gets a statue for his invaluable civil rights contributions. He is depicted here as a 26-year-old young man, around the time he was elected as the president of the Montgomery Improvement Association, which organized the bus boycotts. I really appreciate that they have lots of great monuments on the grounds. Some capitals are kind of lacking, but now let's head into the state capital of Illinois. Much of the interior has lots of French Renaissance elements, with elaborate ceilings, frescoes, paintings, columns, and floor patterns. This is the Rotunda. At its center is a statue of a woman called Illinois Welcoming the World. The plaster statue was originally displayed at the Illinois building of the 1893 Columbian Exposition in Chicago, and this bronze reproduction was placed here in 1895. The Rotunda is absolutely fantastic, and I don't think this video can quite capture how tall and elaborate it is. It's something you've really got to see to believe. At the center of the inner dome is the seal of the state of Illinois, all in stained glass. Next to Illinois Welcoming the World is a really nice Christmas tree, as well as this nativity set. I don't recall ever seeing a Christian nativity being placed so prominently in a government building. However, I have seen religious items in government buildings. From my understanding, the practice is generally permissible if sponsored by an outside group, which is my presumption here. And right next to it is a denunciation sign sponsored by the Freedom from Religion Foundation. So if one could be in here, the other can too. Now up on the second floor, we can get a view of Illinois Welcoming the World and a little different perspective on the immensely beautiful Rotunda. The top of the dome is 361 feet high, which makes this the third tallest state capitol building in the United States. It's the tallest non-skyscraper style capitol. Louisiana and Nebraska's skyscraper capitals are taller, but this one is even taller than the United States Capitol in Washington, D.C. Even this railing is absolutely incredible. There are so many little details and patterns on literally every surface of this place. The second floor has statues around the Rotunda. Governor John Wood is the closest, and to his left is House Speaker David E. Shanahan. There is one painting in here, and that is of General George Washington. Right next to Washington's portrait is another statue of Stephen Douglas. This one is fairly old as it was placed here in 1877, and it is by the famous Illinois sculptor Leonard Volk. Right next to Douglas is the man he defeated in the highly publicized 1858 Senate election, but lost to in the 1860 presidential election. That man was Abraham Lincoln. This sculpture was also dedicated here in 1877 and is by Leonard Volk, who most famously did Lincoln's life cast. This is the Grand Staircase. Notice the two statues of women holding lamps on either side. One of the architects of this building, Alfred Picknard, was also contracted to design the Iowa State Capitol while this one was under construction. Picknard created the two statues of scantily clad women, however they were deemed too inappropriate by Illinois officials. Iowan officials visited the construction of the Capitol, and they were very impressed, and they also took these two women with them for their version of the Grand Staircase. And they were at the Iowa State Capitol for over 100 years until they were recently returned here. Now atop the Grand Staircase on the third floor of the Capitol, there is a gigantic painting. In fact, the largest in the Capitol and one of the largest I've ever seen. It's 40 by 20 feet and was done by a German named Gustav A. Fulks in 1886. The man at the center is General George Rogers Clark, most important for capturing Fort Sackville and securing the Northwest Territory for the US during the Revolution. It's a depiction of him at Fort Kaskaskia in Illinois in 1778, negotiating with the Native Americans. Kaskaskia would become the Illinois territorial capital and the first state capital. I will note that the Native American culture being portrayed here is not from Illinois or the region. There is also an impressive relief. It's actually just painted plaster, and it shows some pioneer Illinois scenes, like a covered wagon perhaps traveling down the National Road. There is a much closer and less restrictive view of the Rotunda from the third floor. Just like the US Capitol, there is a frieze around the rotunda. Again, it's painted plaster, not actually bronze. It shows scenes of Illinois and US history. The artist died before making a guide to who is who, so there are some unknown figures and scenes. But that is undeniably the scene of a historic Lincoln-Douglas debate. Just beneath the frieze are statues on corbels, which were added later on. They display statues of important 19th century Illinoisians. Senator and Justice Sidney Breese is on the left, and Senator Lyman Trumbull is on the right. He was a co-author of the 13th Amendment. There is General and President Ulysses S. Grant, who lived in Galena, Illinois before and after the Civil War. And there's General John A. Logan on the left, and Congressman William R. Morrison on the right. This has got to be one of the most impressive Capitol building rotundas in the entire country. This is the House of Representatives chamber, a very beautiful room, especially because of that ceiling and stained glass. Illinois has 118 members in its House of Representatives. They do have twin portraits of the two titans, Abraham Lincoln and Stephen Douglas. The General Assembly authorized these back in 1867, and they were first on display at the old state capitol. Then they were brought here when the House began meeting in this chamber in 1877. The big stained glass circle is known as a ley light, which acts as a big and somewhat altered skylight. They were a little more useful back in the day when they were also using gas lights in the chandeliers. With fluorescent electric lights in the early 20th century, the ley light was removed from this room. It was fully recreated in 2006, and I'm glad they brought it back because it looks fantastic, just like all the other ornaments and details in the ceiling. This is the Senate chamber, where the 59 senators converge, debate, and hopefully get things done, sometimes. This is the chamber where Barack Obama got his start in government. The Chicago lawyer was first elected to the Senate in 1986, and he remained in this position until he won the US Senate seat in 2004, and he of course went on to be the 44th President of the United States. That used to be a skylight, they just covered it up with more ceiling. Sure does make it look interesting. The ceiling in here is really excellent, and most of the ceilings in this building have been restored fairly recently. Even the hallways through here are extremely elaborate. While I still have a lot of state capitals to get to, this one is definitely in the upper tier of my favorites. This is the former Illinois Supreme Court chamber. The highest court in Illinois met right in here until 1908 when they began holding sessions in the newer building nearby. This room is particularly astonishing as it takes direct inspiration after the interior of the Doge's Palace in Venice. That is the Goddess of Justice, trampling on coins indicating that justice is not for sale. This room is simply fantastic. They sure don't build them like this anymore. I'd highly recommend you come here and take a tour for yourself. It is an absolutely marvelous structure. I do have many other Springfield and Lincoln history videos, including one on the adjacent Illinois State Museum, so please go check those out, and thanks for watching.